started on one of those calm Saturdays when life finally feels like it's giving you a break. The sun was sliding through the blinds, soft music played in the background, and for the first time all week, I wasn't thinking about deadlines or clients. My name is Lauren Mitchell. I'm 32 years old, and I work as a financial analyst in Columbus, Ohio. I bought this condo 3 years ago, my first real home, the one thing I'd earned entirely on my own. I thought I'd built a life no one could shake. I was wrong. The doorbell rang, once, then again, faster, sharper. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, my parents were standing there with 5 overstuffed bags and that look, the kind that makes you feel like the ground is about to give way. My mom's voice cracked as she said, "Lauren, we need to stay with you. We lost the house. Bad investments. We don't have anywhere else to go." For a moment, I couldn't speak. My parents, the ones who preached saving every dollar, who never so much as missed a mortgage payment, were suddenly homeless. I let them in, of course. They were my parents. But even as I helped drag their bags inside, something felt off. They moved through my place like they already belonged there. My mom hugged me a little too tightly, her perfume heavy and familiar. "You're such a good daughter," she whispered. My dad muttered about how temporary it would be, how they'd figure things out soon. But he wouldn't meet my eyes. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan. Bad investments? It didn't make sense. Their house had been paid off for over a decade. How do you lose something like that overnight? My gut twisted. I grabbed my phone and texted Evan Ross, a friend from college who's now a real estate lawyer. "Evan, can you check something for me? My parents say they lost their house." "I just need to know what happened," he replied within minutes. "Sure, I'll pull the records tomorrow." The next morning, my mom was in the kitchen flipping pancakes like it was family breakfast Sunday, humming the same tune she used to when I was 10. My dad was pretending to fix a loose cabinet door. For a moment, it felt comforting. But then I noticed how easily they'd settled in. My mom had reorganized my coffee mugs. My dad had claimed the recliner, remote in hand. "So," I asked carefully over breakfast, "any luck finding a new place?" My mom froze just for a heartbeat. "We're working on it," she said quickly, forcing a smile. My dad added, "Don't worry about us, kiddo. We won't be a burden." But he wouldn't look at me when he said it. By lunchtime, I couldn't shake the unease. They weren't acting like people who just lost everything. No panic, no searching, no calls. Just comfort. I stepped onto the balcony and called Evan. "Any updates?" I asked. He sighed. "Yeah, and it's not good. They didn't lose their house, Lauren. They sold it, cash deal. $950,000. The money went straight to an account in your brother's name, and there's a new property in Cleveland under him." My fingers went cold. "You're sure?" "Absolutely. It's all public record." I hung up, my stomach churning. My parents hadn't lost their house. They'd sold it. And given almost $1 million to my brother, Tyler, to buy him a dream home. Then they showed up at my door pretending to be broke. That night, I couldn't eat. Couldn't even look at them. Every laugh, every casual word felt like a knife twisting deeper. I'd always known they favored Tyler, but this was betrayal dressed up as tragedy. The next day, my grandmother Evelyn dropped by. She's 78, sharp as glass, and doesn't tolerate nonsense. One look at me and she said, "You look like you've seen a ghost. What happened?" I told her everything. The bad investment lie, Evan's discovery. Evelyn didn't even blink. "They didn't lose that house," she said firmly. "They sold it to fund Tyler's new life. Him and that girlfriend of his. What's her name? Scarlett something? The one who thinks she's some tech genius?" I blinked. "Scarlett Stone?" Evelyn nodded, disgusted. "That's the one. Convinced them she and Tyler were building the next big app. Your parents believed it. Thought they'd hit gold. They always did baby him." Her words hit hard. My parents hadn't just lied. They'd chosen my brother over me again. Sold their home, gave him everything, and when it fell apart, turned to me like I was their safety net. After she left, I stared at the framed photo on my wall. The 4 of us at the lake years ago. I couldn't recognize the people in it anymore. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I printed the property records Evan sent me. My parents were in the living room. My mom knitting, my dad pretending to read. I stood in the doorway, papers shaking in my hand. "We need to talk," I said quietly. My mom looked up, her face soft but guarded. "What's wrong, honey?" I lifted the papers. "You didn't lose your house. You sold it. For $950,000. You gave it all to Tyler." The color drained from her face. My dad's magazine slipped from his hands. "Who told you that?" he demanded. "It doesn't matter," I said. "I just want the truth. Why did you lie to me?" My mom's lip trembled. "Lauren, please, it's not what you think." "No?" I snapped. "You took everything you had and handed it to him, then came here acting like victims. Why?" My dad stood suddenly, his voice sharp. "You watch your tone, young lady. I didn't move. You lied to me, in my own home. And then, it happened." He slapped me. The sound cracked through the air like thunder. My head jerked to the side, my cheek stinging. I stared at him, at the man who used to tuck me in and tell me monsters weren't real. Turns out sometimes they live in your own house. My mother gasped but didn't move. I touched my cheek, feeling the burn spread down my throat. "You think you can hit me in my own home?" I whispered. The silence that followed was the kind that changes everything. The silence after that slap stretched on forever. My cheek burned, but the shock hit harder than the sting. I stared at my father, this man I'd spent my life trying to please, and saw someone I didn't recognize. My mother sat frozen on the couch, her knitting needles trembling in her hands. For a moment, no one spoke. Then I said it, my voice low, steady. "You have 30 minutes to pack your bags and get out." My dad blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," I said, holding my ground. "Either you leave or I call the police." My mom's voice broke. "Lauren, please don't do this. We're your parents." I shook my head. "Parents don't lie like this." "Parents don't hit their kids when they're caught lying." My father's jaw clenched, anger flashing across his face. "You ungrateful brat. After everything we've done for you, this is how you treat us?" I laughed, a short, humorless sound. "You mean after giving Tyler everything and showing up here to use me as your safety net? Yeah, I guess this is how I treat people who betray me." He took a step toward me, but I held up my phone. "Try it again, and I'm dialing 911 right now." For the first time, he stopped. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. My mom started sobbing again, muttering something about family and forgiveness. But I couldn't hear her anymore. My heartbeat was too loud, my thoughts too sharp. 25 minutes, I said quietly. Then I walked into the kitchen and leaned against the counter, shaking. My hand was still pressed against my cheek, feeling the heat of his palm like it had branded me. I don't know how long I stood there before a knock sounded at the door. I opened it to find Ryan Miller, my neighbor from down the hall, a retired cop who'd always kept an eye out for me. "Everything okay in here?" he asked, his gaze flicking past me to my parents. I forced a weak smile. "Just a family disagreement, Ryan. Thanks for checking." He hesitated. "You sure?" I nodded. "Yeah, I've got it under control." He studied me for a second longer, then said, "I'm right next door if you need me." And then he left. The moment the door clicked shut, I turned back to them. My mom was crying quietly now. My dad just stood by the window, his back to me, arms crossed, seething. 15 minutes left, I said. He laughed under his breath. "You wouldn't dare throw us out." "You don't have the guts." I met his eyes. Watch me. 10 minutes later, nothing had changed. They hadn't moved, hadn't packed, hadn't even pretended to. My patience snapped. I opened my phone and dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency?" "My parents are refusing to leave my condo," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "They don't live here. I've asked them multiple times to leave, and they're refusing." The dispatcher assured me help was on the way. When the police arrived, 2 officers, one older, one young, they stood at my door. "Ma'am, can we come in?" I nodded, stepping aside. My parents stood frozen as the officers entered. "Sir, ma'am," the older officer said evenly. "Your daughter tells us you don't live here. Do you have any proof of residence? Lease? Mail? Anything in your name?" My dad's face turned red. "This is our daughter. We're family. We've been staying here temporarily." The officer looked at me. "Do they have your permission to stay?" "Not anymore," I said, handing him my lease papers. "This is my property. I've asked them to leave several times." The officer read through the documents, then turned back to them. "She's the legal resident. You'll need to leave." My mom burst into tears. "Please, officer, we have nowhere else to go." "She's kicking us out with nothing." My dad glared at me, his voice shaking with rage. "You think this is over? You'll regret this, Lauren." The younger officer stepped forward. "Sir, that's enough. Gather your things, now." For the first time, my father hesitated. My mother clutched his arm, whispering something I couldn't hear. Then, slowly, they began to pack. My mom stuffing clothes into bags with trembling hands. My dad slamming drawers and muttering curses under his breath. Every slam echoed through me. When they reached the door, my dad turned to face me. His eyes were cold, unfamiliar. "You're no daughter of mine," he spat. I swallowed hard, but my voice stayed steady. "You made that clear the day you lied to me?" My mother reached out one last time, her voice breaking. "Lauren, please," I stepped back. "We're done," I said. The officers led them out. The door shut behind them with a dull click. And then, silence. I stood there, the air still thick with their presence. My cheek still burned, but beneath it all was something new. Not relief, not yet, but peace beginning to take shape in the quiet. Days passed. I didn't hear from them. I blocked their numbers, deleted their emails, shut every door they could use to crawl back in. For the first time in years, my home was truly mine again. But peace doesn't last long in my family. 2 weeks later, my grandmother Evelyn called. "You might want to hear this," she said grimly. "Your parents are living with Tyler now." "Or they were." "Were?" I repeated. 3 days? "That's how long it took before he kicked them out," she said dryly. "Apparently, your father and Tyler can't stand each other when the money's gone. They're holed up in some cheap motel now. I didn't know how to feel. Angry, vindicated, or just tired. And Tyler?" I asked. Evelyn sighed. "Word is his girlfriend convinced him to mortgage the new house. Some bad stock gamble. They lost everything. Again." I closed my eyes, gripping the phone. "Of course they did. They're blaming you," she added. "Telling everyone you threw them out for no reason." I felt a familiar heat rise in my chest. "They can lie to the whole world if they want, Grandma. I'm done being their story." But as I hung up, I knew this wasn't over. Their lies had found a new target, my name. And this time, I wasn't going to stay silent. When the phone call ended, I just sat there staring out the window as the streetlights flickered on. I should have felt relief knowing my parents and brother were finally getting what they'd built for themselves. Instead, there was this strange, hollow ache. You don't stop loving people overnight, even when they've hurt you beyond repair. But when I started hearing the whispers around town, that ache hardened into something else. Anger. Neighbors from my old block texted me saying my parents were telling everyone I'd thrown them out on the street for no reason, that I was heartless and ungrateful. One woman even messaged me, "Lauren, I didn't know you'd done that to your parents. They were turning me into the villain of their story." Again. I called Evan Ross, the lawyer who'd helped me uncover the house sale. "They're spreading lies, Evan. Real ones, damaging ones. They're saying I kicked them out for no reason." He didn't even hesitate. "That's defamation, Lauren. We can prove it's false. You've got evidence, witnesses, everything. Can we stop them?" I asked. "We can do better," he said. "We can make them retract it publicly." The following week, Evan filed the lawsuit. He gathered statements from neighbors, including Ryan Miller, the retired cop who'd seen part of the confrontation and confirmed that I'd asked them to leave peacefully. He even found screenshots of their social media posts, pitying themselves while twisting the truth. The case crawled through the system, but I didn't care. Every court document, every signature was me taking back control of my own name, something my family had taken from me years before this ever happened. When the hearing day came, my parents didn't even show up. The judge ruled in my favor, ordering a public retraction and a small settlement for damages. I didn't care about the money. It wasn't about that. I just wanted the lies to stop. When the ruling came through, I walked out of the courthouse and stood on the steps, breathing in cold Ohio air that somehow felt cleaner than it had in months. Evan smiled. "You did it," he said. "No," I told him softly. I finally stopped letting them do it. Weeks passed. My parents never tried to contact me again. Tyler, my brother, didn't either. Not after his world came crashing down. His girlfriend, Scarlett, had vanished, taking what little money he had left. The house they'd mortgaged was gone. The startup she'd promised him, nothing but a scam. The bank took everything, and for the first time in his life, Tyler had to face a reality without anyone rescuing him. Grandma Evelyn was the only one who stayed. She'd call me every Sunday morning just to talk about life, recipes, the weather, but never about them unless I brought it up. One Saturday, I visited her. Her little house smelled like coffee and cinnamon, sunlight streaming across the kitchen table where she was waiting with 2 mugs. "You look lighter," she said with a small smile. "I feel lighter," I admitted. She studied me for a long moment. "You did what was right, even when it hurt. That's the hardest kind of strength." I looked down at my coffee. "It still feels strange, Grandma. Cutting them off, even after everything. There's this Emptiness sometimes. That's normal, she said gently. You didn't just lose parents. You lost the version of them you hoped they were. Her words hit deeper than I expected. She reached across the table and took my hand. Listen to me, Lauren. Family isn't blood. It's people who stand beside you, not on top of you. I nodded, feeling that truth settle somewhere deep inside me. After that, the days started to feel normal again. I threw myself into work, met friends for dinner, took long walks in the evenings with music in my ears and no ghosts at my back. My condo, once heavy with tension, finally felt like home again. One night, I stood by the window watching the city lights shimmer across the glass. It hit me how far I'd come. Not just from the chaos of my family, but from the version of myself who used to think love meant sacrificing everything. I'd learned something through all of it. Something simple but powerful. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's surrender. I'd spent my whole life trying to earn their approval, trying to prove I was worth something. But the moment I stopped chasing their love, I found my peace. Evelyn still calls every week. Ryan still checks in. Evan still jokes that I owe him dinner for destroying generational toxicity. And sometimes, when I walk past that framed photo of the four of us, the one my dad once hung on my wall, I don't feel anger anymore. Just acceptance. They made their choices, and I made mine. I protect what's mine now. My home. My peace. My heart. Because I finally understand something I wish I'd known years ago. Family doesn't give you the right to break someone. It gives you the choice to love them, or to walk away when they no longer love you back.